let's review this then. I bought this from auction, and actually this is going to be my new daily runner to replace my Samsung. More on that at another time, because we're going to at some point compare the two. But right now we're going to do a review of this LG EcoDry 8kg tumble dryer. This is a 2015 model, so yeah, it's 10 years old, and I got it from auction and immediately had to kind of change the capacitor. It wasn't completely gone, but it was definitely on its way out, and feels much better since that has happened. Right, another thing you want to take into account before buying this is taking into account the depth. The depth is 640 millimeters. Because the drum on this is huge, really big. It is much bigger than the 8kg drum found on the Samsung or the Miele or a Bosch or anything like that. And to prove how big this is, we're not going to test dry 8kg, we're going to test dry more. We're going to put in a full load from a Bosch 12kg in this review, so you can see how good it is. The other thing though as well is that LG recommend that you leave a space at the back of 30 centimeters, which is 1 foot, to 50 centimeters, which is nearly the entire machine, of space from the back. And we've left exactly 20 mil. Yeah. LG also recommends, this being a heat pump tumble dryer, that you operate this in an ambient 23-degree home, which would be no good for me because my own home is only set to 19 in my bedroom. So it's like 15 downstairs. And in this workshop, it's even colder. Yeah, it does work and it will work, but because it's a heat pump, it will take longer. That also being said, if you really think about it, traditional dryers do also take longer in colder ambient temperatures. Right now, this machine is about 12 degrees. So it's about 12 degrees in here. It's going to take a while for this drying cycle. And that's the first thing I've noticed. This is a heat pump, and it does take probably a little bit longer than what it should be doing. Nothing majorly longer, but yeah, it's noticeable. That could be also down to the fact it's 10 years old and it has a self-clean system with no access to it whatsoever. Yeah. Right. The self-clean system, we've got our filter, and then down there, our airflow, and it gets sucked through with a fan, which is attached to the motor, and that controls everything. And then it blows it that way across, and then the heat pump is all sort of down there. You cannot access it whatsoever to clean it. I have no idea how it manages to clean itself. The only thing I thought of, but even when I opened it up, I couldn't confirm it, is maybe it uses the water from the reservoir in the bottom. Before it sends it up to the top, it will send it round and clean the condenser. That's my only thought on how it self-cleans it. But then, of course, that would create some clogging later on, but if it hasn't happened yet. Right, our sensor bars here as well for the sensor drying. We have got pretty much a clear stainless steel drum there, so yeah, none of this fancy like bobbly surface to aid drying. So our model number is RC8055EH2M. I think the M stands for the colour, so I suppose metallic. It obviously is R134A gas, 8kg. It uses 800 watts. Obviously, that's combined with the fan at the back which draws in air, and the motor and the compressor. It has a physical button for the door, but it does also use the ratchet as well in here. That does have electronics in that as well, so it has a double system. And if I turn it on, it says drum light. Interestingly, I can hear a little bit of something going on here. Is that the fan? Is that the compressor? It's gone off now. Right, door handle's there as well. Let's give it the ridge here as if it was a door handle, but you just pull it. Also, door glass bowl, and here, what should be here, is a heat shield. But I've taken it off. It actually yellows over time. It looks far better since I've taken the heat shield off. But I've mainly taken it off because of filming purposes, for like, right now. Yeah, so you can put the heat shield, you'll have a heat shield on. Don't know why, because it will never get hot enough. Right, so we can select our programs here at the top. Obviously, once we've turned it on, we have to turn the dial once, and it will automatically always go to cotton standard all the time, with cupboard dry selected. So, cupboard dry selected, it will take around 2 hours 40 for a full 8 kilogram load, pre-spun at 1000 RPM, using 1.91 kilowatts, and therefore gives this dryer an A++ energy rating. Yeah, which makes sense really when it's got 800 watts for 2 hours 40. That's pretty much spot on. It makes sense. Anyway, you've also got a lot of options going on here. Some of them are a bit useless, and some of them are handy. So, for example, we'll start off with the fact it's got time delay, which is actually delay end, and yeah, that's labelled wrong. It's not time delay, it's delay end. So if we were to start that now, it's going to go in time delay for 20 minutes, then start the dryer and run for 2 hours 40, or, well, it might run for 2 hours 40, it might run for longer, it might run for less. Time delay, or delay, goes up to 19 hours. You've also got these up and down arrows, so just as much as we can go up, we can also go down. They have another use as well, other than time delay. No. We've also got anti-crease. At the end of the cycle, if anti-crease is selected, it will run for up to 2 hours, occasionally tumbling your clothes to prevent creasing setting in. Once it's in anti-crease mode, this light is going to flash to say it's there. Once it's in that mode, just open the dryer door at any point, or just go switch it off. It will then reset and end that cycle, and you've got clothes ready to take out. You don't have to wait for the entire 2 hours. That's what that does. If you don't select it, it will just automatically just shut the machine off after the cycle has ended. Talking of shutting off, the machine has both an auto power down feature. If it's not started in 5 minutes, the machine will switch off. But also, once either the cycle is finished, 20 seconds after, the machine will power down. Same with the anti-crease. After the anti-crease has ended, it will then power down, and it will completely shut off. Right, then we've got spin speed, high and normal. All you got to do with that option is if you're spinning at 1200 or higher, you select high. If you're spinning at 1000 RPM or lower, you select normal. However, these timings are based on an LG washing machine spinning on the cotton cycle. So if you're spinning from the Easy Care cycle, for example, this wouldn't necessarily work. Although this is LG, so it would, because it still runs the full length version of that spin cycle. But if you're running from, say, an Indesit or a hot point or whatever, they won't necessarily correlate correctly. So a 1200 spin hot point won't necessarily be correct. All that does is give you a little bit more accuracy with timings. That's all it does. Effectively, if you accidentally put stuff in that's been pre-spun at 1200 and leave it on normal, it isn't going to over dry it. Likewise, if you put stuff in that was spun at 1000 RPM or 800 RPM and then you put it on the high setting, it's going to lengthen the cycle to accommodate the fact you've done it wrong. Don't worry about that. Personally, I don't use it. It doesn't matter. Right, then we've got option. So you've got damp, dry, beep, which is selectable with basically any of the dry levels here apart from iron. I'll go more into that in a second. Then we've got the buzzer, which is just this beeper. High, low, and then switch it off completely and have no beeper. That includes both this beeper and the M beeper. Dry level, simply select how dry you want your laundry. Iron dry is going to keep it completely damp, ready to run over with an iron and finish off on a hanger. Light dry is still going to leave it a little bit damp. Cupboard dry pretty much does the standard eco dry, so it runs to around 93% residual dry, leaving around 7% moisture in. But it can feel when you first take it out that it's still damp, but really once you take it out, it will actually feel dry after around 5 or 10 minutes. It's very odd. Yeah. However, I do actually will suggest this, if you are using a dryer, you do want it actually physically dry. Once you take it out of the dryer, straight away, select very dry, and it will work perfectly every single time. Then select extra dry if you're drying stuff with double hems, for example, like jeans and shirts and towels, whatever, with thick hems, where if you select, say, very dry, it will dry it completely, except for the hems, which they make be slightly damp. Extra dry is going to run the extra time period to make sure it is fully cured. Right. Go back to then this option then. Well, this option has 2 options in it. However, you can only select one or the other. So if I select iron dry, I can select hand iron, which lowers the time, and effectively it actually increases the amount of moisture left in the clothes, leaving them even more damper than iron dry would naturally. Right, if I select light, cupboards, very or extra dry, I can also select this damp dry beep, which doesn't seem to work, or if it did, I didn't hear it. Yeah, so what you can do is put everything in, and let's say you want some items out ready to go with the iron, but you want the rest drying to a different level. What you do is run damp dry beep. Once it reaches iron dry, the machine will start, well, beeping. Except when I tried this, in effect, it either didn't beep or I completely missed it. Yeah, and that's the problem. It will also only beep for a time period. I think it's like only say 5 or 10 minutes. Once that time period is lapsed, it will just carry on drying anyway, regardless, and then it will get to wherever you've set it to. So it's alright if you're still around and you're in earshot of the dryer, but if you're not, that's no good. Right. Then we've got drum lights. You can switch this on at any point. If you put it on even once you start the dryer, it will eventually go off, I think after 5 or 10 minutes or so. So what Favorite does is recalls a preset of a drying program or set of options that you constantly use frequently. If you don't have anything preset, which this dry doesn't have anything preset, it's going to automatically go back to cupboard dry, standard dry. But you can preset anything you want. So let's say you want mixed fabrics set on cupboard dry with no beeper, you could do that. It's up to you. Right. Max load, of course, for cotton is 8 kilograms. Then you've got mixed fabrics. Max load, half load. You can increase the spin speed if you want. Dry levels, you've got very dry, iron dry, light dry, and cupboard dry. There's no light dry or extra dry. This is to do with the mixed fabrics side of things. Of course, it made for dry half load, 4 kilograms of both cartons or easy cares. Hence the time. If you go to easy care, the time is exactly the same because it's the exact same program, but the limitations are different. So this time you can only have cupboard dry or iron dry, and that's it. Then we got bulky item. It's 2 hours long. I've never used it personally myself. It's one of the few programs I've not used. It's apparently made for drying bed sheets and bed covers and quilts and stuff like that. It's preset to 2 hours, so don't know what dry level, but I presume sort of very to extra dry. Jeans, max load is 3 kilograms. It's made for drying jeans that don't require ironing. However, when I actually tested the program out, I put maybe a little bit too much washing in, and it either timed out or it didn't sense properly because it left it damp still. Yeah. Also, whilst we're going through these next few programs, you'll notice that the dry level doesn't come up. That's because it's preset in its memory somewhere with a preset determined temperature as well. So it will not allow you to select beyond that setting. There are other things like anti-crease, for example, which you can still use, but spin speed and usually other options are not available on any of these programs I'm going to go through. Skincare, 3.5 hours long, made for drying 4.5 kilograms of cotton laundry. What it does is it will ensure that it gets hot enough, around I think about 60 degrees, and will stay there long enough to ensure that they are properly dried for sensitive skin. Then we've got refresh, it's 39 minutes. The cupboard dry icon is actually up there, so it's a bit odd. So it actually uses sort of cool air, made for drying. It's not actually a drying cycle. It's made for refreshing by removing odours from clothes, up to 1.5 kilograms. Then we've got sportswear, max load 2 kilograms. It is a sensor dry program. It dries at a lower temperature to protect your sportswear from shrinking, and gets to, I think, sort of a cupboard dry level, light dry level. It does leave them slightly damp. Same with quick dry. Quick dry is 50 minutes long. It can be a sensor program, so it can be shorter. Made for drying 3 kilograms of cotton laundry in a short amount of time. It gets to sort of light setting, roughly, so it leaves them slightly damp. I suppose quick dry will probably in some kind of conjunction with the half an hour, 30-minute quick wash cycle, which of course spins at full spin speed if you select it to. Then we've got the delicate cycle, dries at a limited temperature, and limits the drying level as well to, I think, sort of between light and cupboard dry, roughly. It's one of the 2 cycles not used. Then we've got the wool drying cycle. Have used this. does work to a degree. Again, limits the temperature. Max load is only 1 kilogram for this of wool, so it's literally just no more 3 items in at a time. It will sensor dry, but it will leave them again still slightly damp, so it gets rid of most of the moisture, then take it out and just leave them to hang around for a couple of hours. They'll soon be dry. Then we got time drying then. So we've got 3 levels. You got gentle air, which does heat the air but limits the temperature. It heats the air slowly as well. Very like the Samsung, because Samsung is exactly the same. Then we've got cool air, which will use no heat whatsoever. And then we've got warm air, which will heat to the normal temperature with no limitations on the temperature. Right. So this is where these arrows come in. So we've got up and down. They go up in 5-minute steps, all the way up to 3 hours and 25 minutes. At least for the gentle air and the warm air. The minimum is half an hour. And of course we can also go down as well. Then we've got cool air, which has a maximum dry time of 1 hour 40 and a minimum of 30 minutes. And then we've got warm air, which again up to 3 hours 25. So the time drying is there to be used with either loads of washing that is mostly dry that won't be detected by the sensor drying, or by very small items or single items that again aren't going to be detected by the sensor drying. So if you were to put one t-shirt in, it is very unlikely that the dryer will detect any moisture. So naturally what you will do is start running, and after about 2 minutes we'll just abort the cycle. Again, if you were to put a load of washing that's been dried as a cover drag, it's going to leave it there very slightly damp, like I've explained. If you put it in again, then select, say, very dry or extra dry on, say, cotton, it won't detect it, it will just abort it straight away. So that's what time dry is for. Water tanks here, it is massive. We've got a little bit of water in there at the minute from the previous cycle. We've got our breather hole there, and then we've got, this is actually where the water both goes in and out. Yeah, so I'm going to carry it over, do it this way, but hold the like this. One on there, one on there. Now, let's load the dryer up then. This is massive. Do you know what? Even at the end of the day, if you was to have one of these, and then you had a 12 kilo centum, I think you'd be fine. Right. Very dry. So yeah, at the top here as well, we've got our progress indicators. We've got drying, iron dry reached, cover dry reached, then anti-crease. Then it's obviously telling you to check filters, child lock, almost like filter okay, and that's like filter warning. And then there's like one for the water tank if it gets too full. We'll leave it. Right. Yeah, let's have a look. They are indeed actually properly 100% fully dry. And it does, like I said, work very well on very dry. In fact, actually, I may have got away with this by putting it on cover dry and using anti-crease. And that would probably just about perfectly dry him. Very dry does slightly over dry him. But I'm not looking for perfection here, I'm just looking for stuff to be dried. For filter, a water bottle, like I said, a little bit in it at the start, so right, so what to give this out of 10 then? Well, I actually like it a lot. It's an LG. The only thing I don't like, and it's the only thing, is obviously I can't service it properly and clean the filter. They're inaccessible. You cannot get to them. It's not like Bosch, where weirdly you can get to them if they clog up. So that's annoying. Not very good for servicing. But in terms of build quality, it is very well built. In terms of reliability, well, we're here 10 years on, strangely, and it's still here. And this is the thing as well with heat pumps. A lot of people thought they were going to be extremely unreliable and all that, but we are 10 years on with this dryer. It is still here. Probably not the most economical thing in the world compared to modern stuff, but back then it was extremely economical. Time length wise, they do take a bit longer than, of course, normal, but if you are drying a full load, you're only talking about half an hour more than, say, actually with this LG, with LGs, you'd be talking about an hour more. Because the proper condenser LGs have like a 2.9 kilowatt heater in. It's the biggest in of all dryers. So it's not really that fair in that comparison. But when you're looking at other brands, such as let's say Beko, for example, it's not that much longer. Electrolux, it's not that much longer, and that's simply because their heaters aren't 2.9 kilowatts on their normal. I don't like the damp dry beep. It doesn't seem to work, or if it does, obviously you do completely miss it if you're not listening out for it. I think that's really the only thing. The only other thing I don't like is the heat shields that they put on. I think they should have just left them as glass, like I've done right now. If they left it like this, I think they look both better and they don't age as much, because the plastic heat shield does, when I took it off, looks like it's ever so slightly yellowed. And that, of course, ages everything. Now, leave it off. It doesn't get hot enough anyway. You can't burn yourself. Like I said, the most you're going to get to is around 60 degrees, and that's on skincare. Majority of the time, you're running at less than 50 degrees. I'm going to get 9 out of 10. I do like it a lot. It was expensive, though, and that's the only other thing. It was more expensive than the Samsungs. It was more expensive than pretty a lot. It was on par with, like, sort of Bosch, sort of Siemens heat pumps for price, and I think that's just a little bit too much. I don't think it's quite as good as Siemens in one or two ways. That also being said, it's not that much worse either. So it's I'm gonna give it, okay, I'll revise it. I'm gonna give it 8.5 out of 10. It's definitely better than my Samsung though, so I will be keeping it. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to give us a comment down below. Don't forget to give us a like if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to stick around for more reviews on wash races and whatever else. And I'll see you in another video, so bye for now.